You stare ahead. You don't stare at the person next to you that's promoting faster. You don't stare at the person next to you that's got more yeses than you. You focus on your path, your story,
Mm.
the things that are laid out for you, because there's room for everyone.
Well, hello and welcome to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. I'm your host, Sam Hind, and I know through my travels and all of the incredible people just like you that I get to chat to every day, I hear people telling me about times of fear that have either crippled them or stopped them moving forward, or perhaps have meant that they've made a decision that they later regret not making sooner. Well, today I have the honor and privilege of introducing you to a very special human being, the founder and CEO of Bravenly Global, Aspen Emry. Aspen Emry, in herself, encompasses the word brave. She not only shares in this podcast the vision that she had to create a company that was her dream company and one that she would want to join, but she also talks about her journey along the way and how stepping into her fear and those things that maybe once upon a time would have crippled her has meant that she's been able to now impact people all over the globe and do something that just brings her so much joy. She was such an inspiration to speak to. Her journey is such an exciting one. And I know that through listening to this podcast, if you're anything like me, you'll walk away feeling just that little bit more brave and ready to tackle the world. Absolutely head on. So I really encourage you, listen to this episode, but ask yourself, what can I do today to be brave? What can I do today to step into the best version of myself and really build that incredible business that I know I'm capable of building? Because I know you are. So if you're listening to this episode, you're here for a reason. I know you're meant to listen. So grab paper and pen and be ready for a golden nugget or two along the way. She drops plenty in this episode. I know you're going to love it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Well, hey there, and welcome back, everyone, to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. And welcome, Aspen. I'm so excited to have you with me today.
Thank you so much for having me on here. I can't wait.
It's my pleasure, and I can't wait to hear a little bit more about your exciting journey. But just before we get stuck into it, Aspen, I would love to know if we caught you totally unplugged, like you're not at business, you're not in any meetings, what would we find you doing?
I wouldn't be alone. I'd for sure be with my family, probably all my 5 kids, and possibly even my 2 grandkids. And chances are we'd be walking the beach or eating some great food or just reminiscing about when the kids were little, some of the silly things they used to do that maybe mom didn't even know about.
I love that. Actually, there's some of my favorite times is hearing about the crazy things, right? And they're
Yes.
just starting to come out with my kids. They're starting to go, hey, you remember that time that you thought I was XYZ? Well,
Yes, exactly. Story of my
oh,
life, especially with my 4 olders.
yes. So you, like us, are another crazy family builder as much as a business builder. You've got 5 beautiful kids. Tell us a little bit about that life.
They're incredible. I mean, absolutely love getting to be a mom. My boys were all born pretty close together. So at one point I had 4 boys under the age of 6. So as you can imagine, we didn't know anything other than crazy busy, keeping them safe and hopefully free from
Yeah.
harm. And then about 8 years after our 4th son was born, we had our daughter, our little girl Hazel. So we have quite the gap, but oh my goodness, it's a huge, huge blessing.
Yeah. And how much fun is it going back and doing the whole parenting thing again once you've sort of been through those first years of figuring out, oh my gosh, being a parent is like literally throwing you into the deep end of a pool. But then once you've done it and you kind of found your parenting legs right and you go back and do that second wind of parenting, it's a very different experience, isn't it?
To me, it's dramatically different. And I think being a little bit older and having done this 4 times, you realize it really does go so quickly. And I know
Yeah.
everybody says that and everybody tells you that, but it does. And so even if there's a tough season, you're like, this isn't going to be forever. This is going to
Yeah.
pass quickly. And there'll be a day that I look back and really miss this. So I think you even savor it even a little bit more. I thought I was the first,
Yeah.
second, third, and fourth time. I was very intentional. I believe in
Yeah.
that. But so much so with this fifth time, just really going, hey, this is going to go quickly.
Yeah.
Embrace every stage for
Yeah.
what it is and be in that moment.
So, I guess one of the things that I really admire about you is you're kind of living the life. You've started a company that is something you're super passionate about. We're going to get to talk about Bravenly Global shortly, but you also you are wearing a lot of hats. Like, you're a founder, you're a leader, you have been in the direct selling industry as well as a distributor, a consultant. So you understand that side of it. You're a mum, you're a woman of vision, you're a wife. What grounds you when life gets full? How do you refill your own cup and make sure that you're showing up as the best version of yourself in all of these different areas?
Well, a huge part of it is keeping priorities straight.
Yeah.
So many times I look back over the years, and I wouldn't say I have a bunch of regrets or anything like that, but I definitely can look back and use it as a window and a gauge of how to maybe improve. So I can be I'm a huge proponent of self-reflection, right? So I'm always, how can I do this better? How can I grow here? What am I supposed to learn from this experience? So I think that's part of it, is
Yeah.
really just being aware and being intentional with the things that matter the most. Our faith is super important to us. So keeping that as priority first thing each and every day, never letting it lose its place. I'm sure people can already tell just in these first few minutes that family is the light of our life as well. So keeping priorities there. But then also when we're working and when we're focusing on business, being all in and being super, super present there so that every moment that's a business moment
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah.
Not sweating the small stuff, but not missing those important details either. And I wouldn't say I would be perfect at it by any means, but when you're self-reflecting and as a work in progress, it makes a huge difference just to kind of have those checks and balances. And like I said at the beginning, take the time for the walk on the beach. Take the time when we travel to a city for an event for our company. Okay, well, let's go grab a museum and find a new restaurant too. Let's take some
Yeah, I
time
love
for
it.
that. It
Yeah.
allows you to be super present when it's time to work, but also not miss the moments that matter the most. And it fills my cup, and it helps prevent burnout and keeps you passionate and purposeful about what you're doing. And also I'm a person of faith that's gonna just make sure that I don't live my life as if I've always got it all together, and being willing to grow is huge.
Yeah, so good. And there's a lot to be said for, I think it's something you learn later on in parenting when you are running a business or when you're in a really high pressure career that you really care about, is how do I balance that time between being the best mom I can be, being a wife, being in business, and I think there's this old school mentality that you can't do them all, which, you either pick a career or you're a parent, but you can't be both. And I just think that that's really, there's been such a big shift, I feel, since I started parenting. So just in the last 10 years in this space that says actually you can, but you really do need to learn how to take a hat off and put a hat on. And if you try to do it all at once, it just won't happen. And things like bringing work home, and there are some spaces, I often talk about how I had to manage that, and I'm guessing that you have too, just being able to say, look, I'm off now, I'm with my kids, I'm with my husband, I am at work, whatever that happens to be. Have you had to really segment those times deliberately, or have you found that you've just naturally worked that out as you've gone?
I'd say it's more natural. And I think
Mhm.
10 years ago, I would have said, I have to be deliberate. And I'll admit, I wasn't that great at it. I really wasn't that great at it. Also, I think a big part for us is keeping our kids involved in what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean literally, but literally as part of it for us. Our four sons work full time in the business, but way
Wow, I
before
did not
that,
know that. Okay.
yes, they do. But way before that, when they were little and I was a
Yep.
consultant, I was a distributor building, it was not leaving them outside of the conversation. Like they've grown up in what it is that we're doing.
Yeah.
And so it really allowed them to catch the vision of what we're even doing it for. And
Yep.
now here as a part of the corporate team at Bravenly, it's even more so. Like their passion for this is completely unmatched. They are not children. They are now working men who pour into our field and love that. But it's because it was modeled, that
Yep.
commitment and living out your purpose. So yes, there's an intentionality to it, but also they've watched that this is a work that we're doing that's not just a job.
Yep.
And you can
That's really
feel that
exciting.
way and work that way, whether you're on the corporate side or whether you're in the field. When you
Yeah.
know there's an impact and a purpose behind what you're doing, your kids can sense that. And one more thing I'll say too is like people will ask me sometimes about mom guilt and
Mhm.
how do I deal with that? And for people who are building on social, that happens. It's not just about leaving your kids. You can be on your phone and posting and sharing, and they'll ask some of those questions about mom guilt. And it was something that I dealt with more so when I was building in the field and when I started almost 20 years ago.
Mm.
But what I've found is when you segment and prioritize and get as intentional as possible, but still really show up in your business, whether that's on social or however someone might be building, your kids see that.
Yeah.
They view that and they are respecting you. They see what it looks like to say you're going to do something and follow through. They see it modeled what entrepreneurship in this, in the year that we're in, what that looks like.
Yeah.
And they grow up to be kids that go, oh, the sky's the limit. I can
Yeah.
do anything if I'm willing to work for it. And so
Mm.
rather than it being this mom guilt that I've carried through the years, it's inspiration. It's mom inspiration. It's, hey, this industry is something worth being a part of. This
Yeah.
industry makes a difference. And it's just so cool to see that. And I think it goes
Yeah.
back to being a parent of older kiddos, but having started when they were really little. And I know your listeners probably span lots of different, age ranges, just kind of knowing, being able to look back and say, wow, what felt like, oh my goodness, I'm taking time away from you in this moment to go work my business, or, maybe someone posting on social. No, this was helping shape the person you were going to be when you're an adult and
Yeah.
modeling what that looks like.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I love as well, I think there are two different, ways I think that our kids grow up when they observe us in work. They either grow up going, I'll never do what they're doing or I'll do it differently. And I'll admit that was me growing up watching my parents. I was like, I am never going to be that business owner that my dad was, because he was so stressed all the time and he was struggling all the time and he had no joy in what he was doing. But I think it's really admirable that you've got not just one child, but all but one child, and only because she's too young yet, have all gone, we want to be a part of what our mum does. I think that's really, congratulations to you. I think that's just amazing. So, plus, when you guys travel, you see them all the time. They travel with you. That's so great. You've lined it up.
It
So,
is. God's really orchestrated something special. And to have my husband here, full time COO operations, and our son's getting to see that side of it with
yep,
dad. And we have such unique personalities that complement each other well. It's teaching them some of those life skills, how, you're going to bring a lot of different things to the table. You're going to have a lot of different personalities. That same thing translates into a team.
yeah,
You have teams of network marketers, teams of social sellers. Not everyone's going to be gifted at the same thing, but you
yeah.
pull out some of those strengths in each other. And that's really, really powerful.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit. I mean, I obviously know about the incredible company that you've built and a little bit of the story behind that, but our listeners don't. So tell us a little bit about Bravenly Global. Why start your own direct selling company? Share a little bit about that story.
Okay, well, I will not give you the 5-hour version. I could talk all day. I
Let's
promise
go
I
the
will give
shorter version
you
just for today.
I will give you the highlights. But you guys, having been in this space for, like I said, almost 20 years, we saw the highest of highs, the lowest of lows, and everything in between. And at the end of the day, even though things weren't perfect along our journey, we lived through some really tough things in the field. And even having worked on the corporate side of this industry, okay, we've done both. we just saw a space where lives really can be changed in this industry from a health standpoint, if you happen to be health and wellness like we are, but also from a business standpoint, the growth that's involved, of course, compensation and those types of things. And so we knew without a shadow of a doubt, this is where we were supposed to be. So there's something really special that happens when you have clarity of, okay, we're supposed to be here. Maybe isn't what we thought we'd be doing, 25 years ago, going into college. I was a high school Spanish teacher, straight out of college before we had kids. So this looks a little bit different than we
Yeah,
thought.
it's a
But
very
you
different
got to
career
be
path.
willing. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You got to be willing to step through some of those doors and just trust that, hey, what I thought maybe it was going to look like is a bit different. And it was in 2020. Through a series of circumstances that just really gave us time and clarity. We had lots of time at home. We were going for walks every day and really just kind of living through all the things that 2020 brought to all of us. And my husband and I, through various circumstances and conversations, came to the same point, came to the same place where it was so clear. Oh my goodness, we are supposed to step out right now, really boldly, and go do this. And that's where it started. It was 2020. And we started, sharing friends. I don't need to get into every single detail unless you ask for more clarity, but that's when it was. It was really stepping out that year saying, hey, timing, when you know you're called to something, it doesn't always wait for the perfect moment. It doesn't always wait till you think you're ready. Sometimes something hits you like a lightning bolt and it's time to do this right now. In hindsight, I look back and I go, oh, wow, that was perfect. That was perfect timing. It didn't feel like perfect timing then. It felt like, okay, but we have it's been a ride ever since then. It's been incredible. We wanted to be in this space because it's where we saw the most lives changed. It's where we saw the most families changed from a little bit or a lot or from the products. It's where we knew we could make a difference.
Yeah, I love it. Now, you said to me a little while back when we were having a chat about this, that one of the things that you really wanted to do was create a company you'd want to join. And you wanted to ditch the things that you didn't love and put in the place the things that you did. What were some of those most obvious things for you? What were some of the things that you were like, this we can't have and this we need to have? Like, what for you, I guess, were the foundational pillars that you wanted to really build into the business that you've got today?
Right. That's exactly right. It was literally writing on a piece of notebook paper, dream company. If we were going to
I love
join
it.
something, what would it look like? What were those non-negotiables? What were those boxes that we'd want checked? And so we knew we wanted to be in health and wellness where people got an immediate result but had long-term benefits from products that would still continue to be beneficial long-term. So wellness, that was a non-negotiable for us. It doesn't mean we didn't think other companies could be wildly successful, but we knew that's where we were supposed to be. From a compensation standpoint, that was the one that was really fun. I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to math and numbers and data and stats. And so to be able to draw out on paper some of the things that I'm like, wow, this looked really good in theory. Oh, to bonus on this or to give some of this, but my goodness, I've watched this play out and it really rewarded the wrong behaviors. It didn't really get people duplicating and sharing and gathering customers or whatever it is, fill in the blank. And so bringing to the table, making sure that there was a healthy compensation budget to begin with. We didn't want to have to be a company that chose, okay, are we going to have front end money for the new person, the person that just wants to have customers or is brand new to the company, to the industry, but then sacrificing on the other end, the leadership. I'm so huge into leadership development and growing leaders. We didn't want to have to take away. So we had to start with a really strong compensation budget. Even in that very first meeting with the experts that we hired, we walked in and said, hey, we know the norm is this. We're gonna go significantly above that. And they said, okay, that's gonna give us a lot to work with. So those are a couple of the things. It was just making sure that there was that early money for people, but that there also was that leadership opportunity and everything in between. And the last thing I'll say, not that it was the last thing we talked about, but the last point I'll make for today is that resources and tools and training and just that corporate support because I recognized over the years, especially as companies get really, really big, sometimes your sponsor isn't as present. Sometimes your
Yeah.
upline isn't as available, or they may not be local to you, and that's okay, right? We build on social, we build in a lot of different ways. And so we said, hey, as a company, we want to take ownership of making sure that even if you're on a fantastic team with great trainings and 30 days of posting and all these great ideas, that you also have that corporate support. And so we had a robust, very simple but robust, committed, consistent training and onboarding program, as well as follow-up. And
Yeah.
also, last thing I'll kind of say that goes along with that, we wanted everyone that would become a part of our company, if they were a fit and we were a fit for them, both those things. We wanted them to know they're not just a brand partner number. They're not just, another starter kit, that they matter. And there's ways that we do that. Like our field is surprised to see us working registration at conferences. They're expecting us just to be backstage, kicking up our feet and taking a breather, not packing boxes and bags of new product when they come purchase it, or not helping them pick the right size Bravenly t-shirt in the boutique, or not taking selfies in the hallway and knowing many of them, I won't say all, but many of them by name, saying, hey, I've seen you
Yeah.
on Facebook. It's so good to meet you. So those are the highlights:
Yeah.
personalization, connection, community, but making sure from day one, we put enough in the comp plan that it was robust and
Yeah.
have products that people crave and that they love.
So let's talk about the products for a moment, because when I think about, all of the logistics that would go with starting a new company, it's one thing to go, we want to be in the health space, but it's a whole nother thing to create a product that you're proud of, that works, that ticks all the boxes. What
Mm-hmm.
does that process even look like? I mean, you said on our bit of paper, we want it to be health and wellness, but where from there, like, what do you do next? How do you come up with an amazing product that stands on its own, that you're proud of and that people are shouting about from the rooftops?
Yeah. Well, we started with thinking about people first. It was, who do we know in our life, including ourselves, but our friends, our, friends, family, extended friend network. What are their pain points? Okay. So you
Mm,
start with the person in mind. We didn't go after a specific technology or something specific. We said, what are people saying? What are they feeling? Right. We want to put people first in everything. And so they're tired. They aren't focused. They're, foggy thinking, stressed out, unmotivated, not productive. And I sound like I'm, saying people are miserable, but so many people we knew
yeah.
weren't living their best life, weren't feeling their best self. So we start with knowing what it is that we need to do. How can we help people? Because we also know that a huge part of health, and I'm on my own health journey always, is, you need to move more and eat well, right? We need to nourish our bodies. But how could we create products that would help people on that journey, right? Kind of be that,
Mm,
lock arms with them essentially as from a product standpoint. So we started there, and then we started meeting with formulators, experts, formulation scientists, naturopathic doctors, and you start interviewing, you start having the conversations and see, does this person align with our goals of
mhm.
really helping come alongside of a healthy, of someone's lifestyle and helping take their health or their quality of life. That's what I was looking for,
Yeah.
quality of life from point A to point B, and create products that work well together, but also have some standalone benefits if that's what people want. So that's how it started. I mean, that's the basic version, is really just know, who is this for? How are
Yeah.
people feeling? And what are we going to try to do to make them realize that you don't have to settle for being tired and unfocused and unmotivated and, lacking sleep and all of those things in life. So that's where it was.
Amazing. I love that. So much has gone into all of this. And one of the things that you said before as well was, you're the person that is at the registration counter, et cetera. I can't help but think, you mentioned you started the company in 2020, and that was right around the time, of course, that, the world was just starting to like
Mhm.
come back up for air, going, what the heck just happened? that's a time when a lot of companies stopped doing in-person events and conventions. What approach did you take? What part did conventions and in-person events play in your business right from the get-go? And what was your plan for the road ahead when it came to bringing people together in person?
Right. We felt confident that we could create a company that really embraced a hybrid model,
Mm,
that didn't ignore the power of social media, the power of connections and community and showing up authentically you on social. So we started knowing that'd be a huge part of it. I started saying, just wave your Bravenly flag. Like nobody can join us if they don't know we exist and we're the newbies, right? We're the new
yeah.
kids to the party, right? So it was wave your Bravenly flag, and so we leaned into as much social as possible, very authentic, really supporting. But we also knew that a big part of what is needed in this business, whether you're on day one, like we were day one, or whether you're on year 4.5, like we are right now, is people need to trust. They need to look you in the eye. They need to hear your the heart of the company. They need to know that you're going to stay in this space, that you are head over heels in love with this industry and with people and with what's possible. And we needed to do that part in person. So as a
Mm.
family, that's what we committed to. We went from Tampa, Florida to Alaska because someone said, I'll get 30 people together. We went
Wow.
all over the United States, and literally we were in living rooms, whether it was 5 people in Tennessee, 25 people in Michigan, 13 people in Nebraska, cities all over the place. We said, let us sit down with you and share the vision of what's possible.
Mm.
Let's share the vision of what we're doing. Let's talk about the products, this company, and our pillars of courage, integrity, impact, and what we stand for. So we have stayed consistent with that. It's a lot more cities now, and it's a lot more people in the rooms. But we also recently flew from Tampa to Arizona, which is 4.5 hour flight completely across the country, to surprise 5 people who were doing a small retreat, just 5 leaders, just in our company. And they were people who had signed up the very first day. And we wanted them to know, number one, we see you. You are so important to us. And we
Wow.
will bring our whole family across the country to surprise you at this retreat because they've been here 4.5 years.
Wow.
And
I love
so
that
it
so
wasn't
much.
the number one earner, but they are people
Yeah.
that are so near and dear to our hearts.
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to they're not a number. They're people.
Yes.
Travel and
Yeah.
community and creating that in person has been just as important to us as really showing up on social and letting
Mm.
that authenticity show through that platform as well.
Yeah, so good. And so tell me what does Bravenly Global look like now? Like at the very start, you were traveling around and visiting 13 people here, 15 people there. Have you had a large convention yet where you've tried to pull everyone together? What's that look like? Where is the company today in 2025?
Yes. Well, we had our first event, our first launch convention right in 2021, 4 months in. So we have a lot of events. So, you go from 100 to 250 to 450 and so on. So in February, just of 2025, a few months ago, we had over 1,500 people get together in
Wow.
Texas. We've
Yeah.
got another year event, mid-year event happening in July, where we'll have over 1,000 people, even more there as well. That's going to be in Kansas City, right in the middle of the United States. And so we love at least twice a year to try to get everybody together, anyone who
So
can.
good.
Part of that's we're growing so quickly is we don't want people to have to wait a year or wait for a local event to them to be
Yeah.
able to get to something. So there's
Yeah.
thousands of people who've joined us since February that July is going to be their first event. And we have found it fuels the fire. It builds belief. It helps with mindset. And like I said, though, there's lots of small events, intermingled throughout there. So we've been
Yeah.
in about 25 cities as a family already this year, in addition to our larger corporate events. And we've already had one of our incentive trips already this year. We have a second one at the end of the year. So it feels like
Oh my
we're
goodness.
gone more than we're here. But when you
Yeah.
feel the family connection with your field,
Yeah.
it feels like you're going to family reunions. It doesn't feel
Yeah.
as much like work. And I know that sounds silly and it sounds cliche, but we really are that connected.
I love that so much. And it really does sound, you don't accidentally build a company like that, do you? It doesn't happen by accident. So tell me, you guys have grown really quickly, and I'm sure that there's some really exciting stuff ahead for you. But the mission and the culture that you've built is clearly so very important to you. How do you protect that as you grow? And I guess the reason I ask this question is when you're dealing with a volunteer workforce, which is what this industry is about, there is a limit to what you can control, and it switches from control to influence, right? So what have you done to protect that heart of what you've built as the business is just taking off around you?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. A big part of what we've done and why it's worked so well, even going from 1.5 million our first year to 4 years later, having done over 50, that's
Mm,
pretty fast growth, is
yeah.
staying super connected. It obviously starts with the top down, right? So, as a corporate team and our family, staying humble, first of all, okay, not getting ahead of yourself and staying extremely grateful. There's not a day that goes by that I'm not scrolling Facebook, seeing people post about Bravenly and saying, they don't have to do this. They could be posting and sharing about anybody's company, anybody's vision, but they have chosen to be here. And
Mm,
the obligation and commitment we have to them only ever strengthens. It doesn't ever weaken. We never have moments where we say, oh, we've arrived. So growing here and staying humble and grateful is where it starts. Then it goes to your top leaders, staying connected, staying collaborative. That's really, really important. Making sure they know we are heard, our voice matters, whether it's talking about promotions or trips or bundles or products or incentives or social strategy, knowing they're heard, because it really has created a we mentality. It's not
yeah.
us versus them. Our leaders aren't saying, if corporate would do this, we'd be better. It's we are doing this.
Mm,
And you know
yep.
what? That trickles down.
Yeah.
So that is the best thing, is staying true to our values, staying focused on what matters, which is the people, being responsible, great stewards, strategic, protecting this house, being authentic, but then creating that within our leaders as well, because
Yeah.
you draw a lot of who you are. Like you said, as you get bigger, you're definitely going to have an even larger mix of personalities and business types and values. But for the most part, I'm probably just feeling like you feel like a proud mom about your kids. I'm just a proud founder when I look at our leaders and
I
our
love
brand
it so
partners
much.
and our
Yeah.
newbies and
Yeah.
everyone in between. I'm like, you are incredible. Like the
Yeah.
character and just commitment to their families, to their why, to their business, to their purpose is pretty special. And so
Yeah.
it starts with accountability at the top, and just modeling that and mirroring that, and
Yeah.
staying true to what you set out to do and not forgetting why you started, not losing
Yeah.
sight of what it is that we're here to do.
Yeah, yeah. And so I guess another thing that for me, I think we see a lot in this industry, and you would know this being that you've come from field, you've then gone to corporate, and now, you've kind of built your dream business. What would you say to someone who has started in the industry? Maybe they've come into network marketing, direct selling, party plan, but they're in this industry and they're feeling overwhelmed. They don't know where to start. They don't know, what's the best move I can make to start to grow my business right now. I know you guys have created some really amazing training and very process driven, but if someone was starting from all the experience that you have, what piece of advice would you give someone who is at the beginning of their journey right now in any company,
Mhm.
wanting to know, like, I'm overwhelmed. What do I do first? What's the best thing for me to do to grow a business in this space successfully?
Right. The simplest thing that I say to people is, remember, you're just needing people to take a look at what it is that you do. Okay. You just need people to take a look. They need to take a look and be open enough to learn a little bit about your product or service, learn a little bit about your business, and your offering solutions. You might have a product solution, Okay. Something that'll help them feel better, look better, have a better service, or you're offering them an opportunity to earn potentially some extra income. You're literally just looking for people who are open to learning more. I
Mm-hmm.
used to tell my team years ago, you're a professional appointment setter. You're literally just booking, whether it's a party or whether it's something online. You're now it would be a voice clip and a chat. Like you're looking for people who are open. And so it's easy to get distracted by the perfect this or the perfect that or the perfect mix of online and in person and all of those things. But at the end of the day, you're looking to create a network of people who use and love your product. Some
Yep.
of those are going to be customers, lots of them are. And some are going to say, I want to do this with you. Oh my gosh, this would be so fun. And they're going to lock arms. But at the end of the day, they're all going to use and love your product, whatever that might be. And so focusing on, did what I do today in my business get me in a place where I was talking to people about what I do? How many times
Yeah.
did I share my product or service in a meaningful way in a conversation beyond the posts that are so important? But am I talking to people online or offline? Okay. They all
Yep.
matter. To me, it's really keeping it simple because we can
Yep.
get so excited about all the different apps and the technology and all these things that really do help when you know how to do
Yeah.
it. At the end of the day, in the old days, it was how many folders did I alphabetize today? How many times did I rewrite my 100 names list,
Yeah.
names list down? It's like I get to the end of the day and I didn't really do much that'll move this forward. But
Yeah.
focusing on what are the things that actually would grow your paycheck in your business.
Mm-hmm.
More customers using your product. And how do you get more customers? You have more conversations. Okay. You have more conversations with people that want to do this business with you and you help them find new customers. You wave your flag and show people that you're still in business and that you've got something worth taking a look at. That's
Yeah.
the best thing I can say.
Awesome. And so, I think probably one of the biggest challenges for people is, how do I start those conversations? What advice would you give there?
Being you,
Mm.
being yourself. And I know that they're
Yeah.
probably like, okay, what does that mean? No, literally being okay with saying, this is me. I
Yeah.
am with this company and I'm excited. I'd love for you to take a look at what it is that I'm doing. If you're interested, great. If not, no big deal. There's lots of different things you can say, but not
Yeah.
feeling like it's always going to be the perfect exact thing. Now, I'm a huge fan of scripts and giving people guidelines and frameworks to personalize, but at the end of the day, just being you and reaching
Yeah.
out. And if
Yep.
there is someone that you have on your mind that you can't stop thinking about, I hope you say to them, I cannot stop thinking about you and the fact that I really think you need to see what it is that I'm doing. Are you open to looking? Are you open? Like, again, you're
Yeah.
not saying, you need to do this with me. Sign up right now. I'm going to sell you something. No, but
Yeah.
just asking. I wish I had the
Yeah.
perfect script, but it really is just being yourself.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
being okay with saying, like, if someone's going to message someone or send a voice clip, it's okay to even say, I'm a little nervous reaching out to you. I've
I
wanted to
love
reach
that.
out
That's
to you for a
really,
while. I've
yeah.
been scared, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to be scared today. And I'm just going to have 10 seconds of insane courage and just ask you if I can talk to you a little bit
Do you
about
know,
this.
that is such a powerful point, and I think a lot of people are assuming that they have to show up with this bravado that they don't have, as though they've got it all together, but that's not what people connect with. And
Mhm.
when people know that, you are genuine, and you're honest, it says a lot for the type of person that they want to do business with or join in business as well, doesn't it? They're like,
Mhm.
you're like, this is the real version of you. I'm not getting someone who's kind of sugarcoating it or selling it just because they've got, this agenda. They're being really honest. And I love that. Tell people. I often say to people inside of our courses, when you do a live and you feel nervous, start the live by saying, hey, everyone, feeling a bit nervous right now,
Yes.
because it shows people that you're human, and that's what they want. They want to connect with someone who's real, not someone who's perfect, right?
Mhm. Yep. That's exactly right.
Yeah, so good. Now, I've got to ask you though, you have gone from field to corporate to entrepreneur. Along the way, you've obviously stepped it up and changed what you're doing. You've learned a lot. I'm really keen to hear, what would you say has been one of the most defining lessons you've learned as a founder of a company so far?
Oh my goodness. That you can't always predict the future and that you need to just have really strong vision of where you're going,
Yeah.
and you need to stay flexible. I think it was John Maxwell who said leaders know how to adjust the sails, right?
Mhm.
You learn how to adjust. It doesn't mean you stray off course and turn the boat in and say you're done, right? It just means you learn to adjust the sails. I often say to people, I don't know where I heard this, I didn't make it up, but you steer where you stare. So
Yeah.
be so focused.
Oh,
And
I
that
love
is
that. Yeah.
something that we have had to do. Have you ever been driving on the road and you're like, what is that? And you go to look at it, and all of a sudden you find yourself swerving because you steer where it is that you're staring. And so we've had to really just do that in this, because you can do anything, but you can't always do all of it right now.
Yeah.
And so knowing what you need to do for right now and stay focused on that,
Mm.
know where it is that you're going, and don't let other things around you get in the way of that mission. That has been one
Yeah.
of those things, and just learning to trust the process, but also take the reins and steer the ship,
Yeah.
steer it where it's got to go.
Yeah, awesome. I say to our community, where energy goes, energy flows. We talk
Oh
about
yes,
teaching a kid to ride a bike, which is exactly what you talk about. If you've ever taught one of your kids to ride a bike, you don't say to them, "See that rock over there? Just whatever you do, don't hit that rock. Don't hit that rock. Don't hit that rock." They're going to steer straight for the rock. But if you never point the rock out and you show them where the path is that you want them to follow, they'll stay well away from that rock, right? So
right.
um, I love that. So say that again. Stare. You
You
steer where you
steer
stare.
where you stare.
Yeah, so
So you
good.
stare
So good.
ahead. You don't stare at the person
Yeah.
next to you that's promoting faster. You don't stare at the person next to you that's got more yeses than you. You focus on your path, your story,
Mm,
the things that are laid out for you, because there's room for everyone. There's your journey is going to look different. So you're staring ahead at where it
yeah.
is that you're going, and
Yeah.
not forgetting why you said yes.
So good, so good. So, just before we wrap up, I really want to ask you, Aspen, some of my favorite questions here. So, I know you're a bit of a reader. So, the first question I want to ask you is this, and this is always a really hard one because people have to think of one, right? What's your favorite book for us to add to our accelerated book list? I should change the question to what's your book of the moment, because I feel like favorite's a bit mean, but
It's tough, and I don't know what's all on the list. So I'm like, okay, do I need to give
you
you 30 so that in case it's already on there? But some things that just kind of pop into my head.
Yeah,
The obvious is, as a Christian, my Bible guides
yeah,
everything that I do, and so I'm sure
yeah.
that's somewhere on a lot of people's lists. But
Yes.
a book that I will say that totally changed my life, which is pretty dramatic to say, but it's true, is I loved High Performance Habits.
Yeah.
Really digging in, and absolutely love that book. Atomic Habits. We're seeing a
Mhm.
theme already that I like books about habits. But I read one in the last 6 months or so called The Culture Code, that
Mhm.
I thought was really incredible. I think I got it at an airport. So I know that's not just one. I don't know if those are already on there, but anything that allows
Yeah.
me to dive in and dissect different things where I could grow.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, I just don't want to ever be that person who feels like they've somehow arrived. I feel so strongly that I owe it to myself, my husband, my kids, and our community here at Bravenly to never stop learning and growing. And so those are a few that stand out. I'm always a fan of all things John Maxwell, about developing
Yeah.
the leader within you and those around you. So I know some of those are ones that a lot of people have heard of. If they haven't read them, like, take the time.
Yeah.
Take the time to go back through and really just evaluate those principles in your life, and just see where are some areas that you could grow. Sometimes one sentence is a breakthrough. The culture
Yeah.
code definitely has been one that has really helped me collaborate with our field and
Yeah.
see ways to continue to create such a healthy community. And I think from a
Yeah.
team
Awesome.
perspective, that would help leaders as well.
Yeah. So good. So, next question. If you could have a superpower, any superpower, what would it be and why?
Oh my goodness. If I could have a superpower, um, I would say, I don't know. Gosh, I don't know how to pick one.
This is always an interesting question. It can go lots of different directions. You can make one up, by the way.
Make up a superpower. Oh
Yeah, that it
my
doesn't, I
goodness.
mean, not that any of them really exist, but yeah, it's
I was going to start saying I would love to not need to sleep, but I'm like, no, you don't want that. You want to
yeah,
have that downtime. You want to have that time to recharge. I think it would just be whatever I could do. I know this is going to sound cliche, but to reach more people, to make a bigger difference, and to just have as big of an impact as possible. Maybe not
yeah,
second guess myself in that arena. But that's
yeah.
a tough one. I feel like my kids would all probably have some really elaborate, dramatic example of their
We've had
superpower.
some we've had some very fun answers to that question. That being said, you did make me think of something just then. I was like, how cool would it be if it's not that you don't need to sleep, but that if you could just wake up and be fully on at any time. If you
Yes,
wanted to get up at 5 a.m. and that it wouldn't be hard. It was just like your superpower is when I choose to wake up, I can be
yes,
fully on. I
yep,
think that
that
would
would
be
be
a good
great.
superpower.
Yes, okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna drop that right
Yeah.
there.
See, we collaborated and we
There
came
you
up with
go.
one.
Yes.
Love it.
I was trying to think
Um,
of one meaningful. Is it, do you want to? I don't know. I
no,
just,
because
I
I
want
feel
it to
like
be
that is
meaningful.
meaningful
Yes,
because
that's a
you
great
you can
one.
be like, you know what, I can have a flight. Like this is me, because of course we're heading back to the US this week. So in my head, I'm going, well, what if I could just survive on 2 hours of sleep and still be able to impact people? It's not that
Mhm.
I don't need sleep. It's just that sleep isn't as pivotal for me as maybe it currently is. Because I
Yes.
know I just lose days every time we travel because I just not being able to sleep on planes. But
Well, I think this is, I was going to say, this is one of those where it's like, do I want the superpower or do I want to have to grow through it? Because I could easily say, I would love to not have fear. I would love to have this super fat power of no fear. I mean, I even wrote a book about being brave, and
yeah,
people that know me well know that I've had to battle fear of flying. Literally didn't even go to my sister's wedding because I couldn't
wow,
fly there. I had little kids. I missed it and have worked through that. Obviously, you probably all can guess we fly all the time now, and I've conquered some major fears, and it's something I've beat myself up over the years. So I could say I'd love to just do anything I need to do, anything I want to do in life, and just not have fear. But again, do I really want that superpower, or do I want to have to grow through the process of being someone who faces fear? So it's a little tricky, but that'd be one that I could definitely wrap my brain around. If I could just be fearless in pursuit of all the things that we have set out to do. I don't even know what that kind of life would look like, but I know what it feels like to work through it, pray through it, trust
yeah.
through it. And I do think some of that has made me a stronger person
A
to have to work through the
100%.
tough stuff.
Absolutely. Yet fear is also what makes us real and helps
Mhm.
others be able to follow in our footsteps too, right? So
Yeah.
if, it's those moments where I share with people the fear that I used to feel and sometimes still do around showing up live, doing a podcast or a webinar, and people are like, oh, you know what, you can't tell us to do it. You don't get what it's like to feel sick to the stomach with fear before you show up on camera. I'm like, yes, I do. If you ever see me backstage at a conference or convention, we're going over, we're going to speak at 3 different events, one with 1,000 people, one with 3,000, and one that could have anything up to 5,000 people over the next few weeks. And let me tell you, there is a lot of fear. I will be backstage preparing myself mentally because it is like I will be, if I don't do that, I will be back there ready to throw up and not able to get on that stage. It could be crippling, right? But
Yes.
fear is
Oh,
also
no doubt.
what helps us inspire. And I don't try to hide that anymore.
Yeah.
I just say to people, this is me. Like, I'm afraid, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
And because we just don't know who we're going to impact when we show up. So, on that, though, I want to hear about the book in a little minute, but I do have two more quick questions for you. Question number one: what's your favorite quote?
Okay. One of them, and I'm going to start with this one and then I'm going to maybe lead into another one, but I'd rather live with the pain of discipline than the pain of regret.
Ooh,
And I feel
good
like there are
one.
so many things, but specifically in our industry, it is so easy to just let your business go, to not show up authentically every day. But many times you and I've both seen it. People look back a year, or two, three, and look back and go, man, coulda, shoulda, woulda. I
Yep.
wish I had dug in. I wish I had
Mm.
joined then. I wish I had followed the system. I wish I
Yeah.
had gotten started. And I'd
If
rather
only I
live the
started
pain of
sooner. Mm.
discipline than the pain
Yep.
of regret.
So good. And last question, probably my favorite, is if you could go back in time and say one thing to your past self, what would that be?
I would just say be brave. Be
Mm.
brave and be bold, and remember that everything that is good in your life, and I can say this because I'm looking back, comes because of stepping outside of the most comfortable parts of your life, and
Mm.
just be brave. Be brave sooner, be brave more often, and that's what I would say to her, because
Yeah.
I would want to just empower. I look back at that little girl that was so scared. I was scared to smile in my kindergarten school picture because I hadn't had braces yet, didn't have my straight teeth, and wanted to be invisible, wanted to
Mm.
just kind of not really be seen, was
Yeah.
super, super painfully shy. And it took years. And again, I'm grateful for the journey, but I would just say to her, be brave and step
Yeah.
out in faith. God's got big plans for you that's going to change so many lives, and just be
Yeah.
brave.
Ah, so good. I love it. I love it. I love it. And tell us really quickly, Aspen, I want to know about your book. If anyone wants to get hold of your book, what's it about? Where can they find it?
It's on Amazon and it's called Chase Your Brave. It's a book literally just about really my life. It was just things that I wanted to share that all fall into the categories in some way, shape, or form of being brave, whether it's
Mm.
showing up brave in relationships, showing up brave in other areas of your life. And it stems from the concept of so many times it's easier to run away from scary things, just like you said, feel the fear and then do it anyway, right?
Yeah.
Well, the book is a lot about that. It's about situations and circumstances where it would have been easier to be like, no, I'm done. I'm
Hmm.
out. This isn't working. And it's not just business. It's very personal. I always tell people, if you don't want to know anything more about me, you don't want to talk about like personal things, probably don't take a look at that. But it takes you
Yeah.
through just various personal stories in my life where doing the brave thing, chasing your brave, going towards the things where you're going to have to be brave,
Hmm.
that can change everything. And it's on Amazon, so it's pretty easy to find. Again, it's not. I'll be honest, it's not some sort of literary masterpiece that's 4,000 pages. It's really a very simple, easy to read book. But I do know a lot of people, and the goal was, number one, to leave a legacy for my children and grandchildren and great great grandchildren to look back and say, I want to know who she was and what she stood for and what made her
Mm.
unique and how God used her. But also, I knew that if it would inspire someone, some woman out there who thought maybe that they were the only ones who'd ever gone through some of those
Mm.
tough things that I share about, if they could feel connected and feel seen, again, it's about seeing people for who they are, then it
Yeah.
was worth it. Also wrote that in 2020. So we launched Bravenly then, and that book was written then. So it was a very
Wow. Okay.
pivotal year. A lot was happening all
Yeah.
at
A
about
lot.
the same time, right? But I'm not one of those, I don't wait till it's convenient. When it's time to
Mm.
do it, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's just get it done. So good. And just before we wrap up, Aspen, I'd love to hear what is on the horizon for Bravenly Global. What's next? What are you excited about? What's the future looking like?
The sky's the limit. More of what we've been doing, more incentive trips, more events, more on social, new innovations with products, global markets, just so many things. We've already surpassed, we're on target to far surpass what we did as far as sales and customer enrollments and customer retention over last year. And so just to continue to pour into our field, give them everything that they deserve to have, and find ways to reach more people, like I said, on a global level, on a product level, and continue just to surpass everything that we have done so far, and to make a difference, keep being a light in this industry, and
Yeah.
really support other companies and other brand partners of other companies in this space. Because, we all know the quote, when the tide rises, all the ships rise, right? Really
Oh,
just
one of my favorite quotes. A rising
being
tide
a
floats all
voice in the
ships.
industry
Yeah.
that says, hey, wherever you're at, you're
Mm.
bloom where you're planted, be in that space and be all in and go after it, and just continue to be a voice for people in this space, that we've got our hands on something really, really cool.
So good. Well, I am so excited for this next journey ahead for you and for your incredible company. Thank you so much for finding your brave, for chasing your brave, and for standing up and, really leaning into the fear and doing it anyway. And I know that you're inspiring many, many people all over the globe. And I can't wait to hear an update of when Bravenly Global finds their way to Australia as well.
There
So
you go. Thank you for having me. This was so fun. Love this conversation. Thank you.
yeah, such a pleasure. And thanks again, of course, to our beautiful listeners for tuning in. Thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate you as well and look forward to having you on the podcast next week. Remember, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. And of course, share this with a friend if you want to spread the word or the message that was shared today. We really appreciate you guys. Sending you all loads of love, and we'll see you on the podcast next week. Bye for now. Thank you for joining us in this episode of the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. If you love listening and you found that this was helpful for your direct selling business, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also check out the recommended video that's popped up on your screen right here. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye for now.